It's a bit of reality coupled with, I guess, how you choose to look at it. It's coming from bnnbloomberg.ca. And, the headline, all of a sudden, the world economy is suddenly running low on everything. What were your thoughts here, Dan?
Yeah, man, we running low on gasoline here. Listen, I'm a big Amanda Lang fan. And do listen to BNN Bloomberg a fair amount.
Yeah.
But this story for me is just bullshit fear-mongering at its best. The world is not facing a global shortage of anything. There will definitely be some delays. So I said, Rob, I'm not going to fully give in to media sources and allow ourselves an excuse, not a reason, but an excuse not to do business. Will there be a potential shortage? Will there be delays? Will there be enough goods for me to operate my store? The simple answer is yes. Regardless of what media is telling you, yes, there is plenty of inventory to go around. And we've talked about shortage. I mean, we talked about inventory shortages last month, and we're certainly seeing, last week we talked about it. We're certainly seeing some delays and shortages across, many retail verticals, especially in furniture, mattress, home accessories, and of course, apparel. There is a course correction happening as the world becomes or gets, back up to speed, I'm going to say. Okay. And the US and Canadian retail economies are and will recover very quickly. The evidence of this recovery is floating off the coast of California, man. There are dozens of sea containers or vessels that are floating out there waiting to be unloaded. And yes, a bunch of it is coming from Asia, and we're going to see some challenge in that as Asian product comes. But the fact that we've got this mass amount of floating container ships out there waiting to offload in Oakland or LA or Long Point means that there's a ton of goods, and they are flooding in. And where government figures last week showed, I think we hit an all-time price high, or the incline in pricing since like April 2017, it means that not only is there an increasing demand, as demand increases, prices go up, right? Yep. This also means that as we start to feed more and more to supply to that demand, we're also going to see increased pricing. Increased demand, delivers increased pricing. And it's about goddamn time we started inching prices up, not down. We got to get out of this race to the bottom. And perhaps a bit of a supply chain disruption is what we need. And again, I'm not going to let this be my excuse not to do business. I'm going to figure my shit out. That's what I do. I'm an entrepreneur. I figure stuff out. Yeah. I'm going to go find new products to sell. I'm going to expand my market. I'm going to go to market and look for new opportunities, which we're going to touch on a little bit later. So while this story really came off like, woo, hair on fire, we're running out of goods, there's commodity pricing is changing, and tin and oil and blah, 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 whatever. It's just a byproduct of the last 18 months of bullshit, and we figure stuff out here. So I'm not going to be led astray by this. The one gleaning highlight for me from this was that there's more demand. There's some pent-up demand, and it's going to create our supply chain to be better and stronger, but it's also going to create inflation, price inflation. And it's about bloody time we started increasing our prices.
Is that something like for the retailers out there, has that become I'm going to say maybe daily is way too much, but a weekly activity of just evaluating their pricing and just making sure they're not leaving anything on the table?
Yeah, every time something shows up at your back door, you're reevaluating pricing. And Rob, we've talked about this in the past. And actually, one of the questions that came a couple of weeks ago was on pricing and the psychology of pricing and what should I be doing. And we're going to throw it on one of these upcoming podcasts and talk about pricing as we start to see markets get closer and closer to us. As we approach, mid to late June, we're going to readdress that whole pricing thing. But your question is on point. How often should I be reevaluating or reassessing my prices to make sure I'm not missing the mark? It's every single time you receive something, you reevaluate that retail price. What will she pay for it? Not how does it calculate, what's my 2.4 markup, but what will my client, what will my customer pay for this? And am I priced appropriately? Doesn't matter where cost lands on things. It's where price lands.
Right. Because to your point, like you may have bought some inventory months ago that you're pricing it based on that versus the whole market's changed the dynamic, even for like the mentality of the buyer that like, look, it's never going to be that price again. It's, I joke, I'm going to open a jewelry store, but everything's going to be made of lumber. Like the way pricing's going there might outpace diamonds.
But it's going to crash, Rob. And here's the thing, that bubble will burst.
So you're saying I should return my lumber order?
I'm saying, let's not bury all our cash in Bitcoin and lumber, because the fastest way to the bottom is going to be, cryptocurrencies and overinflated commodity items like lumber.
It'll come in check. Yeah.
But
great takeaway though. I like what you said just about like that constant evaluation of your pricing within the store, and not necessarily what you paid. It's what they're willing to pay.
And to not be misguided by media, even those as great. I love Amanda Lang, love BNN Bloomberg, but let's not be misguided here. We're an independent retail, and we are entrepreneurial spirits here. We figure shit out. Let's go find something that we can turn back into, for $1 that we can sell for $3. Let's figure it out.
Well, and to one of your first points about like, hey, if you're looking for excuses, you'll never be disappointed. There will always be a headline or two that you can grab onto, and this is my reason, right? And I think I shared that quote a few weeks ago. You can't change the direction of the wind, but you can change how your sails are set up every single time. I screwed that one up, but anyways, we'll move on.
Yeah, you totally. That's all right.
I'm gonna print a book. Rob screwed up quotes of inspiration.
Rob's non-inspirational quotes.
Rob's semi-inspirational quotes that were screwed up from the original. Yeah, first edition.